The site looked great at first glance. No surprise there, given it's a Webflow designer. But the messaging, it wasn't pulling as hard as it could be. It was leaning too heavily on generic design research, and the gap made it harder for the right clients to see whether to choose this Webflow designer over so many other companies out there. In this Query Jam, we dig into how a sharper headline and stronger social placement can shift the positioning and why case studies don't need to be long to land with the ideal clients. Let's get into it.
I'm Ethan Swerlo. I'm a digital designer based in Manchester, and I work with clients globally. I specifically focus on digital design and Webflow in particular. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And I absolutely love chatting with people with a design background on these Query Jams because it just makes positioning and messaging talk so much more dynamic. How long have you been? I know you kind of specialize in Webflow, web design, and web development. How long have you been doing that?
So I actually I'm self-taught designer. I started around 2018 to kind of like design or getting into brand identity and designing logos and things like this. But when I moved on to freelancing, I think it was around COVID time, so potentially like 2019 or 2020. So for about like 6, 7 years in total since I started working with my first client.
Awesome. And how did you kind of stumble into design?
Um, so that's funny because I was working on a full-time job that I didn't enjoy at all. And the money was good and everything, and I had kind of like security, if you want to say it that way nowadays. And but I wasn't like really like fulfilled with what I was doing. So I just tried to different things. Actually, design wasn't my first go. I've always been a creative. When I was younger, I was drawing and creating things. I used to make music back in the day as well. So I've been always creating things. But I wanted to do something else. So I tried a bunch of stuff. And then when I found like graphic design, I started doing like, graphic design in general, packaging, logo design. And then after that, I was like getting more involved into digital design when I found about the future, like a bunch of designers started as well, Claps Academy with Franz Segal and everything. So yeah, the more that I was learning, I realized that there were like different areas. It was because design is kind of like too broad. And then I was like niching down into more like, brand identity, web design. And then it's when I found about Webflow, and it kind of like, rocketed my career because I was able to provide more for my clients and all those things. So
I love it. And speaking of clients, what type of brands do you typically work with? I know Webflow is the through line across all of them, but what type of brands are you normally working with?
So I've worked with a little bit of everything. Personal brands, those are usually like really fun projects because you can have more creative freedom. But then we also have like recruitment companies, SaaS companies or technology companies. Maybe they do like a product or something that they need to communicate or sell. Mostly B2B companies. We've done a little bit of B2C, but for the most part, it's B2B. And yeah, potentially that's kind of like a little bit of everything. And also collaborating with some agencies because a lot of agencies, they provide like Webflow developments right now. And the demand for Webflow is kind of like growing hugely, not just in the US. It was like really huge in the US back then, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, but now it's like growing in Europe. So because the demand is growing, a lot of agencies, they are also like looking for Webflow developers to kind of like join the team full time, part time, or as a contractor. And that's what I usually do as well, like collaborating with some agencies. We do like some web labels or, kind of like collaborations to create some cool stuff. And yeah, for the most part, it's direct clients, but I'm also collaborating with agencies who provide Webflow.
Awesome. And what types of kind of job titles are the people who are typically hiring you on both the agency side as well as in the client
So for the most part, it's the marketing team who will reach out because something that they really potentially is like what they heard about Webflow. Like this is a platform where you can just build things and it's really easy and it's easy to maintain and things like this. And for the most part, it's true. But then when they realize that building things in Webflow, it's not as easy, um, those things change. But yeah, what they're looking for is mostly like a CMS or, a platform that they allow them to move quickly. And so yeah, usually we're gonna when I chat to clients, it's usually like the head of marketing or the manager of marketing or people that it's in charge of the marketing team. Founders who are like really starting like the new startup and they maybe just looking to get like the first website, that's something that I also chat about. But yeah, for the most part, it will be the person who's really in charge of the marketing side.
Awesome. And with that in mind, do you want to go ahead and share your screen so we can kind of take a look at your homepage?
Yeah, sure.
So the first thing I'm immediately seeing here is I see basically a design reel, which looks awesome. And then I'm also seeing, if you just want to scroll back up, stunning brands and digital experiences as your H1, freelance, digital designer, and Webflow expert. I like the fact that Webflow is right within the hero section. I like the reel. A couple of things that immediately stand out to me. It's very clear you do Webflow. However, you kind of mentioned most of your clients are B2B and or agencies, but a lot of your reel is showcasing restaurants and like B2C things. Can you maybe talk me through a little bit about kind of the rationale behind that?
Yeah, so this is actually just a snippet of the video. When we click on it, you actually have like the full video that you can just see, and it's around like 53 seconds. So this is something that I don't show here. Potentially what I show here is like the first 10 seconds or so, and it's just like looping it over and over. So it just incidentally that it's just the restaurant, a little bit of Webflow. But yeah, the idea is that people will click on it and they will watch like the full video to kind of like see an overview of all of the projects that we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years.
I love it. I love that it's super simple. It's immediately in your face. Really, really clearly a very, very talented Webflow designer and developer. My recommendation, since I know you're kind of thinking about a redesign, is maybe have the same exact images that you have now, but instead of having it be like food and hotels, make all of those examples either be a little bit more kind of the behind the scenes of your process in Webflow, as well as examples that are more resonant with the types of brands you actually work with today.
Yeah, I appreciate it because actually the reel will be redone because we have like new projects and stuff. So actually for the new website, we will create a whole new video. So that's a really good feedback to keep in mind.
Yeah. Another thing that just immediately stands out to me, and I see this all the time, is stunning brands and digital experiences doesn't tell you anything. Like, it does tell you that you're a designer. You do have Webflow in there, which is important, but what's kind of your secret sauce, or what's kind of the main value prop or the main pain point that you are solving for these heads of marketing, CMOs, that you work with, whether that's on the agency side or within the brand side? Like, can you maybe share a little bit more about that and wondering if that can translate?
Yeah, definitely. So actually the words that we have here, they work really well for SEO because we have like really, keywords like digital designer, Webflow expert, and so on. So I think that was kind of like the main goal here. Actually when I explain a little bit more it's here. So kind of like about the process and the value that we provide. And the main thing here is just to provide like a website that is functional, it's memorable, easy to use. And it really depends also on the goals of the client, right? Because in my case, I can provide something that it might look beautiful. It's going to work well. It's something that we can deliver fast, but there are so many things that's one of the key things that we can provide, but it also depends on the client goals. Like maybe they have, their conversion are like performing poorly, or the website it's not really working really well on mobile, or, a bunch of other things. It's not easy to update and things like this. So typically what I do is just to do a discovery and understand a little bit more about what they want to achieve. And then we follow up with a solution. But on the website, it's mostly about like showing good work. And then just, explaining that what we provide is more like a memorable experience or website rather than just like a flat website or things like this. That being said, the website is like around 3 years old. So maybe the messaging, it will be a lot differently right now, which it will be on the new website. But yeah, back in the day, I was mostly like just focusing on, something that good websites, immersive experience, motion and things like this. So yeah, that was it. I will change like a lot of things now looking at my website, knowing the things that I know. But yeah, back in the day, to me, this was like enough, and it's still performing well. So I can't really complain.
Totally. I totally get it. There's also, I'm sure, a little bit of the cobbler's shoes problem. You spend all of your time on your client side, that sometimes your own website which it still looks amazing, by the way. But there's always things that you could be fine tuning. I wonder if I like the fact that you're really leaning into Webflow. I wonder if you should almost, I'm a big believer in H1s that are really, really specific and really, really clear why it's hire even the Webflow designer and not hire any Webflow designer. Could you make that H1 just a little bit more specific? So you still have the Webflow angle for SEO, you still have digital experiences, but is there a way that you can maybe think about summing up at H1 so that it is so incredibly clear that it, why they should hire you and not any other Webflow designer?
Yeah, actually on the new site, which I kind of have like the hero section already designed. It might be like a paragraph, like two, I think it's like 3-4 lines that we have on the at the top of the page. Um, yeah, I suppose that will be the H1, and it's a little bit longer. Here, it's most like words here and there, like specifically placed. But on the new, it will be more kind of like a paragraph that explains briefly what we do and kind of like the value proposition that we offer to clients or the problem that we solve, rather than just having Webflow expert or digital design or something like really specific.
Totally. And what does that mean? I know you can change a little bit based off of the client, but what is kind of the summarized high level value prop?
And it's already well, but I will need to look at the website to see it. But it's mostly something like this. Like it was something like I create, immersive experience or websites that are memorable for brands in this space, that space, and so on. So yeah, it was kind of like explaining what I do and for the people that I do. So it's kind of like a 2-3 liners in the lines that I have in here, rather than just having the tools that we use. I think that I've also mentioned those things like memorable websites for clients in those spaces, using digital design strategy and Webflow or something along those lines.
Awesome. And then I'm going to have you scroll down
Mhm.
to your examples. So now I see a bunch of social proof in terms of case studies. Are these kind of
Mhm.
case studies or examples? Love it. Um, one thing that social media stands out is I love all the examples. It's a really clear design, very clear what you give. One thing that might be particularly interesting is instead of doing a summary, something I've seen that's worked extremely well across a lot of the brands I've worked with is instead of having the like a quick little summary, kind of pinpoint either a bullet point or just like a 1 to 2 sentence line of like them reechoing the value prop or reechoing the main thing that you delivered or the main result of that
Mhm.
website. So if it was, hey, we launched this site for the very first time, put that in there and just kind of, or you can even literally have a quote from the client, something like that. So just immediately stands out to someone who's a head of marketing or whoever who might be wanting that right. They're not just going to see the example of this brand, but they're actually seeing like the main thing that you get for them.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it's funny that you say that because those 3 projects that I have here,
Mhm.
they used to be case study pages on my website, and I still might have 1 or 2 from the first projects that I've done. The problem with case studies is that I didn't have the time to keep up with new projects. So every time that I wanted to have like a project, it will take me a lot of time to create like a full case study explaining the impact that we created, kind of like the overview, the challenge, the problem, the process and stuff, and creating the visual. So it was really time consuming to get like those case studies up. So that's why I just simplify it, and it was like view project, just check out the website, there's not really any difference from here. We have like a couple of lines about the projects, and then we have like just more projects and just look at the work, and that's really it. On the
Yeah.
new site, I might have more like an overview. There will be like dedicated pages with a lot more visuals. So it's kind of like a case study, but it's going to be focused on the visuals. Because that's something that we realize as well. Like a lot of people, they don't really read case studies. They just like to see your work and see, if they like how the website performs and everything. And that's really it. So maybe just go some visuals, a link to the real product to see that there's a real website, maybe with a testimonial and a few metrics. I think that will be everything that you need for a case study compared to, like a full breakdown, which it might work really well for product design because there's like a lot of UX and user flows and everything involved. But for a website, it's mostly like, it looks good, it's functional, it's really easy to update, and, it performs well for the use case that we're trying to achieve. And that's it. So that's kind of like the things that I'm refining as well. So fully agree with what you said here.
Totally. And a couple of things that I'd maybe just kind of chime in on is yeah, you totally don't need to have case studies for for every single client that you've worked with. If you do, amazing. That is like super, super rare. What you can do is I maybe say, take 3 of your best projects from the last couple of years, or even the last 5 years, have
Mhm.
those be like banger case studies with all the visuals go all out. And then for everything else, simplify it to the point to your point where it's like, hey,
Yeah.
just take in a couple of visuals, have in like a one-liner or like what you did and the result. And that's going to be more than enough to kind of be able to showcase that, like, oh, this is somebody who's been around for a while. They're really good at what they do. They have a whole bunch of examples because you already do all of that. And you don't sort of need to have 50 case studies. You can literally just have visuals from 10 to 12 projects.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was kind of like the intention that I wanted to have on this side. The problem is like, when you want to work on a new case study and then you have like a new project coming in, so you pause the project because I didn't have the time to update the case study. So I wasn't pushing like projects on my website because I didn't have the case study ready, because I was dealing with client work. So that was kind of like a limitation. So I just said like, ignore it and just publish what we have, couple of lines, and then just moving on. Because yeah, but on the new site, yeah, I would like to get a little bit more information about, like you said, maybe like 3 feature projects that are like really good, and then we can
Mhm.
have the rest in a more simplified way.
Yeah, less is more sometimes. But
Yeah,
what
definitely.
you have now is totally works. Do you want to kind of scroll down?
Mhm.
So we see more examples. We see even more examples. I love it. Again, kind of same feedback I had before. Scroll down. Now we get to your process section. This section to me is really well designed, but it almost feels like the messaging or the copy for the section feels like a little bit less than some everything else on your website that is like amazing. Like, is there a way that you can maybe spell out your process and maybe even it's like if you're gonna have a process section, can you spell it out and be a little bit more specific? Or maybe would it be better for you to just kind of weave your process into all of the examples? So instead of having it be a dedicated process section, maybe you just take 3 of your best case studies and weave your process across all 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a good point. This section, I think I haven't updated this section in like 3 years. And actually the process, it's not really like this anymore. So yeah, I'm guilty that I'm not updating my portfolio as I should. But yeah, typically the process that it's way simpler. We have the discovery session. That might be kind of like the analysis and then the research as well. So I kind of combine those because it's kind of like the kickoff of the project. So discovery session, sitemap, developing the navigation and everything. And then we do like competitive research as well. Basically like all of the information, which is kind of like the strategic point of view of the process, right? So maybe those 2 processes, they will be kind of like the strategy. Then we have design, which it will combine
Mhm.
sometimes wireframes and then the UI and everything. And then the rest, it's mostly just development. And then that's it. Like onboarding and support is something that I kind of include in the development of kind of like the handoff of the design or the websites of the client. Because I usually do like an onboarding session with a live call where I run them through the components, how to update the CMS and things like this. And that's really it. And support is something that, back in the day, I was thinking maybe to get like SEO services or more like a retainer with clients. But nowadays, the websites or the system that I want to have, it's mostly like websites that you can manage on your own. So it's not something that you need to stay to a developer and then just pay like a monthly, unless that you don't want to, maintain your website, you can totally do that. But the website, the way that we will build it, they are made to be like really easy to maintain and for marketing teams to just like move things quickly on their end without having to have a developer. So I would say strategy is like those 2 steps. Then we have design, development, and then, the onboarding or support is something that I don't really do anymore. So this will be simplified in 3 simple steps as well. Again, this section, it will be redesigned for the new website. And it will be like a way more engaging because I have like a really cool animation prepared for this one. And I'm excited to redefine this section in particular.
I think you basically just answered your own question there, which is how to
Yeah.
simplify the section. Scroll down. Okay, like the awards. I know you might
Mhm.
print some of these out, but not all
Yeah.
of them. Maybe just like, simplify them. Same thing with the testimonials.
Mhm.
Yeah. These make a ton of sense. super, super useful. I would maybe argue that having the logos be buried all the way down 2/3 down the page is not helping you. I also just kind of
Mhm.
say you want to lead with your wedge or like that value prop that only you can do. That's kind of that main thing that, kind of gets a client over the edge from thinking about this to hiring. That social group can actually kind of be a reinforcer of that. So because you have really big names, you have Yahoo, you have Airbus, you have other people in there, could you just maybe
Mhm.
just move that logo up? The logo's way up into the hero section. So they're just kind of anchoring. Now you have these like really, really strong real, but you also have logos as well.
Yeah, actually, funny that you said that because the logos they used to be here, and like kind of like the market that I was like kind of like scrolling. But for the most part, all of the people that I was landing to my website and they still are, they are just landing to the page and then just scrolling right really quickly to the project. So I think that most of the people that are landing to my website, they are just interested to see the work as soon as they can. So that's why we have like the work, it's basically what you see first. And then the logos is something that is mostly supporting with the social proof. So that's why I decided to move them here. But yeah, maybe last year or potentially like 2 years ago, they were above in the hero section. And then I just decided to move them here down the page. So but yeah, I agree with you. Usually when I work with science, logos or social proof is something that we put really high on the page to just build trust right away before going into detail with the products or who they are and things like this.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing whenever I'm working with clients on messaging, positioning, and copy. The made thing, and there's a reason that you see that. I do a lot of work with B2B SaaS. So there's a reason
Mhm.
that you can see right at the very top, that little row of logos in the
Yeah,
hero section, like right at the bottom of the hero section. Yeah, it's because it works. And it's
yeah,
just kind of that way to just kind of further reinforce you have your wedge, you have kind of those logos, and then you can go into the problem you solve, your solution, and then more social proof. There's just kind of a standard page flow right there.
yeah.
Scroll down. Okay, so now I see kind of common questions. I love this. Big, big, big believer that having FAQs directly in your homepage can work really, really well. My
Mhm.
thing that I always kind of notice now across a lot of the ones when I'm writing them or across these clarity jams as well is the biggest mistake I see people make, and I see a little bit of this here as well, is the FAQs are being used to kind of answer the basic questions like what's pricing instead of what are your killer objections. So, what are the
Yeah.
3 reasons or the 3 main objections where someone would not hire you? And can you utilize your FAQs to address those 3 questions verbatim?
Yeah, actually, again, this is something that it was designed back then. Nowadays, what I have, because actually, if you get a contact, we have kind
Mhm.
of like questions that are here for the service
I
and,
love it.
actually budget and things like this. So this is kind of like the filter that I use. Like FAQs is something that I wanted to have for people to kind of like to work as a filter, like especially if you have like pricing and stuff in there, like people won't reach out for that. But also like things that they might, request. Like if I'm an agency, do you develop in Figma design? This is something that I don't think that it has any value anymore. And yeah, we usually
Mhm.
have a filter for the contact, which is like the form that I just showed you here. And then when you go to schedule a call, that will be in code.com. And then I have actually the questions in there. So maybe what I should be doing is to bring those questions in here to the FAQ. So mostly about all the questions that I typically get asked when they jump on a call or something like this. But yeah, this is actually way out of date if I'm honest. But yeah, I agree with your point.
Totally. And then also, like, when you're kind of getting on a call with them, what are the questions that they're asking on the call? Or what are the reasons why somebody wouldn't work with you? Because that's the stuff that you can kind of utilize and put within these common questions. And you can just kind of massage it to be like, oh, and you can kind of flip that from a disadvantage to now helping people kind of see, oh, this is actually why they should hire you or why they should.
Yeah. Yeah, actually in the forms that we have, typically the questions are mostly for me to see if,
Mhm.
they are like a qualifying lead, like, the location, the type of project that they're looking to have, the timelines, if they have the right budget, or even if they are looking to get like the right platform. Because some people they reach out and maybe they are looking for WordPress. Um, so, that will be like a no right off the bat. So those are like the things that I usually look at for before I jump on a call, and then see if we want to jump on a call or not. And then during the call, it really depends on, what the client is looking for. Because sometimes it's just design, or it's development or both. Maybe they are like looking to get a new website because they are like a brand new company, or maybe redesigning their website because it's not performing well, or maybe they are looking to upgrade, or maybe they are just scaling that up. So it really depends on how the conversation goes. And typically what I do is just to focus on what's the problem that they want to solve. And I kind of provide like a solution during the call, or kind of like a plan that we can, move ahead. And if they agree with it, is when we start like doing with the proposal process and everything, which it will be later on to see if we can actually start partnering with the client. So yeah, really different questions of the things that I usually have, like how much does it cost? Yes, it will come on the call. Why do we use Webflow? This is something that I don't think it's like valid anymore. People usually, if they come to me, they usually want Webflow already. And then agency things like this, it's something that, they might also look like for Webflow. So questions that I have here, they don't really qualify or apply anymore for, for what we do nowadays, if I'm honest. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to stop sharing your screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, is there any other kind of questions or insights you have?
No, not really. All good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to Clarity Jams, Ethan.
No, thank you for having me. That was really fun. It's like a really different dynamic of the previous podcast that I've been doing. So I kind of like enjoy kind of the feedback that we do live. So that was really fun and valuable as well.